Swiji, we welcome you to TV Asia. First of all, congratulations that you decided to rerun for an office. I know you just mentioned, but you must remember you live in the city where Swami Vivekananda, he has a favorite quote, arise, awake and keep working to the target till you achieve it. So you should not be feeling, because nobody wins at the first time. I mean, like, even if you check, like anyone, they have now made to the ladder for the very first time. You fall, you rise. You fall, you rise, and then you go. And because you're more stable then. Let's hear about the decision that you decided to run for a school board to for Naperville area.
Yeah, we have been living in Naperville area since 2004, and we moved here for the schools for our children. They are very respected and highly rated. So when my children were going through schooling, I have seen some need of improvements. So that's why I ran for school board for first time. When I ran for first time, I didn't know much of the policies or the what school boards exactly do, and then how the government is involved in the schools. So I ran and we did a good run at that time, but I lost the election. That was the best thing happened to me, because that has given me so many opportunities to get involved in the community and get to know the community at the personal level. So being part of different kids organizations like 360 Youth Services and Kids Matter, and also Naperville Chamber of Commerce, and I serve on different committees which actually helps the kids to achieve their goals and also partner with the school districts. So these 4 years given me a lot of time to think about it, and people ask me to run for different offices, but my heart is in the education and passion for leadership. It made me run again. So
we wish you all the best. Actually, 2016 has been really a very credible year if we talk about it, because from the various different parts of the United States of America, we have 5 congressmen, means those who are now in Washington, D.C. of representation and of Indian origin. So it does not have to be only the DC, because we have to first correct our home, because municipalities where are people not even thinking the need. So I really feel that is, and the message has to be very loud and clear. So what do you want to say to the community? Those who are living in Naperville area, because the school districts are very, very good. They always talk about it. They pick that we want to be the resident of Naperville. So if somebody of our own is serving on the board, I think that makes it easy.
That is true, but also the Naperville schools are increasing in diversity. They are multicultural groups, increasing, multiplying year by year. So it's nice to have representation for each multicultural group with the qualified candidates. And also, as you said, Vandanaji, grassroots level leadership is so important, because if you were, as you said, if women gets involved, the family gets involved, and the family gets involved, the community gets involved. When each community gets into that kind of engagement, it's really, really healthy change for the community and the country.
We wish you all the best, ma'am. Good. Thank
you
you
so much.
Yes, well, something that I'm also a professor at North Central College, and I teach in the Urban and Suburban Studies program, as well as being on the City Council in Naperville. And something I've been looking at is the changing populations in northern Illinois and the demographics changing. And Naperville is now close to 20% Asian. And it's been a wonderful thing to increase that diversity and see how the community changes. And the Indian community has added immeasurably, I think, to the cultural life of the city. It's a wonderful thing to see, and such an interesting group of people, and bring all kinds of talents and great expertise to us.
Absolutely. When you talk about it, like the community at large, the Indian community, because mostly you'll see them in IT, engineers, and professionals, physicians, and I do remember the last man, he used to always say, my wife's doctor is an Indian doctor. He always used to quote that. And the school boards are pretty good here. I mean, the school, and when we talked about, so what are the plans for the India's Independence Day 2017 from the city?
You know, I will have to ask Krishna what's going on with the parade. I was happy to be part of the parade last year.
How did you like it?
Oh, it was very fun. It wasn't very long, so it was a pretty easy parade to be a part of. And then, of course, the celebrations at the end at Knock Park were just terrific, and the food was wonderful, and it was a delightful experience. So that's just a terrific addition. You know, we have a St. Patrick's Day parade, we have a Memorial Day parade.
Why not India Day?
Yes, why not? Why not India Day? What's not to like about it, India Day? But it's, you know, this is really true of many. Yes, the increase in Asian population is true around the United States, especially in places we call boom burbs, which are big, often affluent suburbs outside of big city areas, maybe outside Los Angeles or Phoenix or Denver. We're actually the only one in the Midwest, something that has very lots of growth and growth in the business community and in the education community, as well as just a growth in population. So Naperville and Aurora, between those two cities, it's 350,000 people. So it's actually, if you put those two communities together, which people think of kind of as suburbs, it really becomes bigger than many older American cities, bigger than a Cincinnati, okay, or bigger than a Pittsburgh, or bigger than sort of the older, more traditional industrial cities. These are often education economies built on technology and a highly educated population, which is looking for really good schools. That's extremely important, but also
the schools are very important to the Indian parents. Before they move, they always see what district they have to put their
I've been in the same place for 30 years, and I must say my kids are in their 30s now. I didn't think that quite that hard, because when we moved, our children were so small. I didn't think too much about didn't know I would be here for 30 years. I thought we might be gone in a year or two, but despite the weather, it's been a great place to stick around.
Thank you so much for sharing. Wish you all the best, ma'am.
Thank you. It's wonderful talking to you. Thanks a lot.
One of the things that Aurora really has in terms of richness is our cultural diversity. One of the things we're most proud of, and I think one of the things that gives us a lot of strength, is the fact that we have people from all over the world here. And what was interesting is that after the 2010 census, we realized that actually the fastest growing population in Aurora was the Indian American community. And so we went from having just a little over 1,000 people in the year 2000 to having over 6,000, a six-fold increase in 2010, and that continues to grow. And so it's one of the things we're very proud of here. And so we felt like we should start a group. We started the Indian American Community Outreach and Advisory Board. And the first thing they took on was having a celebration of Diwali here in Aurora. So we did, as you pointed out, we thought the Festival of Lights in the City of Lights, it couldn't be more perfect. And we're really proud that so many people from around the country, including, of course, India, have been choosing Aurora.
As you've been engaged with the city, very different level of events, you've been engaged. So what is, as we all know, at a given time when we talk about Aurora, people used to be scared and moving. But now they do take a pride, because the previous mayor that you've been working with, he has put a lot of efforts in toppling down and taking it to 180-degree turn. How did it happen?
Well, it happened by doing what we've been concentrated on in this campaign, which is building partnerships, believing that we've got 300 police officers in the city of Aurora for a city of 200,000, and so we understood, and Mayor Weiser understood, they could never do it by themselves. They had to form partnerships with neighborhood groups. They had to form partnerships with federal agencies and with nonprofit groups and churches to be able to tackle this problem as a community. And so we built trust with a lot of key groups. We brought in neighborhood groups and mentoring organizations to work with our youth, so they had options instead of turning to crime or gangs and those things. And it took a lot of hard work and dedication, but when we all looked at this and said, this is everybody's problem to tackle, and we worked on a common goal, we were able to make some very significant progress. And we've gone from being recognized back in the 90s as one of the cities with some of the highest crime rates in the nation, to literally now, if you compare us to the other big cities, we have the 5th lowest crime rate out of the 150 biggest cities in the United States. And so we've made it, exactly as you said, a 180-degree turn.
We do know because last time when I spoke, the chief of the police has been the young police officer with the lady, right?
That's right. We've had a couple of firsts under Mayor Wisner. He was the first one to appoint an African-American police chief, Bill Powell, who I'm proud to have on my campaign team. And then Chief Thomas was the next one, and he's also endorsed me and is on my team. And then Mayor Wisner appointed the very first female police chief that we have. So we pride ourselves in doing some things first and breaking new ground. And again, as you said, the celebration of Diwali was a first as well as having an organization that we actually put money into, city funds, because we believe that this is important for the city.
Rick, let's hear from you. When we talk about the partnership, it has given the city as well as the people have got a lot from you, because we could crack down, because people have got engaged. When we talk about you, when the elections like are coming April, so when the early voting starts and how the process is, then people can.
Well, early voting has already started for the primary. So there's actually 2 elections. We have the primary that's coming up actually on February 28th. So that's the one we're focused on right now. There are 4 candidates and 4 write-in candidates. And so the top 2 vote getters will move on to April 4th. And so we need people to turn out on February 28th on Tuesday. You can vote early at either the DuPage County Election Commission or at the Aurora Election Commission all the way through Monday. And then on Tuesday, you would vote at your polling place. And then beyond that, we haven't even really started to concentrate. The early voting, I don't know when that starts for April 4th, because right now everyone's concentrated on February 28th.
Thank you so much for sharing. I wish you all the best, and thanks for being with the community and for.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all you do to cover here and come out to Aurora on a frequent basis. We always love having you here in the city.
Let it be, if there is some problem with the Bonsai High School when the Diwali is happening and he's there fixing up, I've seen that good. So I just wanted to, first of all, thank you for that on behalf of the community at large. Let's hear from you, since you've been involved and engaged in the city of Aurora for a very long time. You've seen the demographics changing over a period of time, and Diwali has brought Aurora in very big limelight when we talk about Midwest and
Yeah, it has. It's good to see you again, by the way. There's been a big change in all of the demographics of the city. The city was always a melting pot. It was always an area where so many different cultures could come together, and none of that's really changed. What's changed is we now have, instead of Germans or Italians or Greeks, as it was initially, now there's an Asian component that are coming through, and certainly the strongest portion of that has been the Indian community here in town. That Indian community is growing, is the fastest growing portion of our city. On top of that, and the key part about it is it's the part of the community that's contributing more and more and more to the fabric of the community. It's contributing knowledge base. It's contributing businesses. It's contributing jobs. And it's a very, very big bright spot for Aurora.
Thank you so much for sharing, and I think the partnership has to grow more. And we are looking forward for the 2017 Diwali now, and I think we'll be married more. Last year you guys had the Bollywood night, the film night.
We had Bollywood. I think it was just a couple of weeks beforehand, and they're already planning for it. They're ready to go again. I think it's October 6th, if I remember right, is the date that was picked at this point. And here we are in February, and it's still wintertime, but we can still think about Diwali. We can still think about fireworks, and we can still think about all the good foods.
Fireworks going to bring the warmth because the weather has changed from 70 to 30 to.
We have our own fireworks tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi viewers, it's indeed an honor and pleasure. Sometimes we come across, we always look for achievers in our community, and with me is Tanvi Bhatt. Tanvi ji, we welcome you to TV Asia. And I just heard the Indian community of the Naperville, they recognize your achievements, which is congratulations first of all. Let's hear from you, the University of Illinois, Chicago, what you've been doing it, you've been working for almost 20 years and serving there as a professor. And when we talk about fall prevention, it is very close to so many people's hearts because we live in the climate which is very inclement. This year has been lucky, but the snow is coming tomorrow. And most of our seniors, it's not only the seniors actually, a lot of young people also fall. So would you mind please sharing your and your research?
Sure, thank you so much, Vannaji. It's indeed a great honor the Indian community has bestowed upon me. So my line of research is I started doing this in 2001 when I joined my PhD in University of Illinois, Chicago. And we call it, it's a very innovative, different thinking. We call it perturbation training, meaning we slip and trip people to teach them not to fall from slips and trips. We put a harness on them, so this training has been provided in a very safe environment, and we have custom designed equipment where people walk on these movable platforms, and it simulates real life like slips, just like walking on ice, and also real life like trips, like you hit your leg on a curve, and we believe that the brain learns how to not fall just when you experience it, just like a child learns to fall when he's walking. He falls many times and eventually learns to walk without falling. So this is a similar strategy. We call it learning from falling, where we repeatedly slip and trip them, and they develop these protective self-defense mechanisms which are always there to not fall. So then now when they experience a real life fall, slip, or for example like black ice, they have different strategies. And we have found that we conducted a big clinical trial with my mentor, Dr. Clive Pye, and we found that this single session works like a vaccine-like approach. So only one session has very long-lasting benefits for about preventing falls for a year. So we're hoping, the whole vision is that eventually we'll have these devices in the gym, just like treadmills, where people will get on the treadmills, experience this perturbation training, like slips and trips, and will be able to kind of receive this annual fall prevention vaccine. And currently I've been funded by the National Institute of Health Sciences for 2 projects. One to conduct the similar kind of training in older adults, so that is 65 and over. And I'm also leading a project in people who've had a chronic stroke or community dwelling stroke survivors who are at even a greater risk of falling. And so these are the 2 parallel lines for which I have been funded for 5 years by NIH.
When we talk about NIH, it means how many years that you've been working on this?
So yeah, it's already been about, after I graduated in 2006 with my PhD, so almost 10 years or 11 years on just this line of research, which I continue to develop.
So do we see as what the research, the findings of the research, can we really make, as you said, the brain has learned? Because when we're talking to you, unless or until you see that, the brain is not ready to accept it. Yeah, because how could that be because the cautions, because fall is an accident and accidents do happen, but they always say prevention is always better than cure, because we cannot stop walking on the roads, we cannot stop walking on, and because in the suburbs we don't see the snow wind shovel so very good like in the city of Chicago, and those are the accidents that happen, and sometimes the falls do take place in home.
Yeah, so that's very nice. So my line of research is mainly from environmental falls, like when you dash out of your house and there's like black ice and you don't see it. So exactly, we have this preventative therapy where you can have signs, right? We have signs for that wet floor so you don't slip. But the research that we conducted said that even if you warn somebody that there is water, but if they don't see the sign and they walk on the water, even if they're aware that there is ice outside, people still slip and fall because you have not trained them to develop these protective responses. So by repeatedly going on slipping them and training them, you develop these protective responses called protective stepping. So as soon as you're on ice and you start slipping, you can take these protective strategies to not fall at all. So even when the situation...
If I'm not wrong, because the car is about to skid, how to apply your brakes, how to turn your car.
Yes, that's right. So it's like the self-defense mechanisms trigger in right away, and you do the right strategies, which can actually help you not go down right away. And you might lose your balance, but you're not going to hit the floor and break your bones. So that's something very similar. And we're also looking at the brain activation. We're looking at brain MRI, and we do see that this learning strategies is actually that the brain does change. Just a single session or 2 or 3 sessions of these training, we see changes in the brain that you remember these strategies of not falling. So that is some new thing we are kind of looking, because everybody says, oh, okay, you showed that people are not falling, but what is happening in the brain? So we're also looking at the mechanisms. But you got that right. The car example is very nice.
Thank you so much for sharing. We wish you all the best, ma'am. Good luck, and we are really indeed honored and pleasure to share your experience.
Thank you, and thanks for the best wishes. I really need them, so thank you.